What is this? What is this? It's debt. Oh, so this is the payment. Oh, I see. This is the drop off. This is the exchange.
Hey, welcome back to TED. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to have you here. Hey, yup. Elon, yes.
So, in the next half hour or so, we're going to spend some time exploring.
I mean, the guy's name is even Elon Musk. The musk, the scent of what? You can sniff it, but you just can't find it. You're relentlessly trailing, right? You're just, there's, the scent. You're following your nose. You're the great toucan, just Fruity Loops. For who knew that you are in a state of fermentation and just bash, and you're just alkalized, rather. Just punch drunk, and actual drunk, inebriated. Just slurpeed.
Exploring your vision for what an exciting future might look like, which I guess makes the first question a little ironic. Why are you boring?
Yeah, I ask myself that frequently. We're trying to dig a hole under LA.
So you gotta remember, I mean, these are, is it, oh no, it's just candid, it's just live, everyone. Right, it couldn't be that there's obviously questions that are ahead of time presented. This is like all rehearsed. They have lines, and who knew? They execute them.
And this is to create the beginning of what will hopefully be a 3D network of tunnels.
Whoa.
To alleviate congestion. So, I mean,
So that makes him boring. He's like, yeah, who thinks of trains? Are you a little boy? You playing with little Thomas the Tank Engine and this and this and that?
right now, I think one of the most soul-destroying things is traffic. It affects people in every part of the world. It takes away so much of your life and your
traffic. Everyone, how just idiotic traffic. Right, of all the relentless cars that are out there, right? That's the problem. Traffic. So I'm going to just make it better somehow. By tunneling, yes. Follow the ant. We must become ants. Submerge beneath the crust. Become one with the lava. Yes. Musk, he wants you to follow the scent now in underground. Follow your nose underground. Because what is he saying? What is he saying? Traffic. You mean human trafficking? He's like, yeah, human trafficking is the issue. We just want to make it totally. You know how you can rig up a building so that there's a vacuum in a tube, and that's how you send messages and this and that and this and files and papers and papers and papers and papers and just smashing. And they're just there. And just there. You open the thing, it's just get it out. You want to send it somewhere else, you put it in a different tube. This and that. Wow, who knew? So this person wants to make human trafficking the most efficient, because right now it's just killing us. So frustrating, especially here in LA and bash, and just in cities, and just who knew? Who knew? Because people are crying about global warming. Just somehow it's due to all the greenhouse gas emissions that we're culpable of, and this and that, and the relentless beef that's just farting because we eat so much beef. Therefore, they're just farting even more. And this and that and this. So this guy wants to come up to a solution to the traffic that we're crying about. So somehow the solution is going underground. Wow, what a concept. No, it's a very old concept, buddy. So just rehashing, refurbishing, and now presented to you as novelty. Wow, who knew? Because if everybody believes that all the tunnels in New York were built in the time frame that they say it is officially, and this and that, wow, smashed. There's relentless tunnels, tunnels that have been closed down, tunnels that they don't even tell you exist, and this, and they go deep. And who knew that there is tunnels that are airtight, and this and that? No, right? It couldn't be. There was never an ancient this, right? Never. The Americas were just filled with just savages that needed to be murdered. And they were just savages that just couldn't wait to kill the pioneer. So therefore they just needed to be blasted away. Right? So the story goes. So it couldn't be that, wow, it was just obviously blasting, right? Declaring war for what? Why would, I mean, this is the thing, right? You say, well, why do people kill each other? Exactly. Why? Why is it to kill, to gain, right? You think you're gaining something by killing. You're like, what about self-defense and this? No, smashed. Self-defense, that means somebody who wants to kill. So if you're defending yourself from that who wants to kill, somehow you kill too, and this and that. So what is going on? What is to kill? To murder. Envy, resentment, anger. Exactly. Embodiments of the worship of yourself. Worship of the light. And in shifting ways. Who knew? Who knew? Who knew? And you call yourself the relentless craftsman, manipulator. For your craft are the elements and this, and you're gonna make the universe your bitch, and this, and that, because you know all the fractals and all the geometries and the spirographs and spirographs and gyroscopes, but you don't know what a gyroscope is, and this, and wow, you pogo balling your way into just volleyball pounding through your skull. Amazing. For now, you truly believe that no, your brain is bigger than a volleyball. For you are just so amazing. Traffic.
It's horrible. It's particularly horrible in LA. And
And
so,
I think you've brought with you the first visualization that's been shown of this. Can I show this?
yeah, absolutely. So this is the first time, we've just to sort of show what we're talking about. So there are a couple of key things that are important in having a 3D tunnel network. First of all, you have to be able to integrate the entrance and exit of the tunnel seamlessly into the fabric of a city. So by having an elevator,
Look at this. Wow, it had to be the red car, of course, amongst the black ones. And look at the relentless tunnels and all the infrastructure, right? Wow. Right? I mean, there's been described, underground cities. Right? People believe the extent of building underground were bomb shelters, in the Cold War, and this and this and that and this and this and that and this and this and that. What a shame. The deepest we've dug into the earth is apparently 13 kilometers. So, and that's, through experiments, and then not to mention mining. So, relentless mine shafts, mining tunnels, mining just tunnels. Relentless carving out this and this and that, and this and this and that. But no, this is just too novel. This is just too novel. No, just going underground, just burrowing, just being the ant, right? There's nothing new under the sun. What are you doing? This somehow is the future. Wow, what bash.
On an elevator, you can integrate the entrance and exits to the tunnel network just by using two.
All to make traffic just go away, right? Wow. See, I mean, no, this is to traffic you. Make sure you know exactly where you're going, where you mean, yes, being tracked. Just like everything else, just tracked. Oh, it's for your protection. It's so you know where you are. Yeah, right. Exactly, because you're too stupid to know where you are. So you relentlessly need something else to tell you, oh, I'm here. Amazing. What a shame. And this and this and that and this and this. And now you're just going to be in the little toy car, relentlessly being bashed on a canal. Right? Where are you going? Somewhere really fast. 111 kilometers per hour in a second.
Parking spaces.
Wow.
And then the car gets on a skate. There's no speed
200
limit here.
kilometers per
So
hour.
we're designing this to be able to operate at 200 kilometers an hour, about 130, 200 kilometers an hour, or about 130 miles per hour.
Wow, look at these. The underground highways. Whoa. What a shame. I mean, it truly is as fantastical as his space program or his rocket. Is just, apparent launching cars in space and all. Exactly. It's the same thing as this. Smashed.
So you should be able to get from, say, Westwood to LAX in 6 minutes.
Oh, you just go down the sinkhole and you just appear, and somehow you appear somewhere quicker. Wow. So this guy's basically saying portals, right? We want to direct portals that take you underground, and then you rise from the ashes like the phoenix somewhere else. That's why the car is red. Smashed. Right? Because what is going on? This looks like the scene from The Matrix where they're walking down the street and then Morpheus is like talking, and then all of a sudden Neo rubbernecks, and then he pulls over and there's a gun in front of him just ready to smash him. Or something like that. But he's like, oh, you see, you got distracted by the woman in red or the whatever. And so it's the car in red, right? The scarlet. You just lust for it. You're on fire for it. This is you. And even if you say, no, of course not. Wow. Who knew it's just like signaling? Once you have a victim that's traumatized, you don't even have to touch them. All you have to do is perhaps say a word, perhaps do some motion, a sound, and they are just instantly somebody else. That's called trauma-based abuse and, brainwashing. That's how you get somebody to just look at something and just not even know what they're looking at, but still somehow something is already shaped for them about what it is that they are seeing. Exactly.
So possibly initially done as like on a sort of toll road type basis.
Yeah.
Which I guess alleviates some traffic from the surface streets as well.
And everybody claps, right? They're like, wow, this guy's such a genius. Who knew you could sell the dream of boasting underground? Just as you boast above ground, so to speak. Right? No. Right? Because just look, You're just trying to recreate something that was already done. There's nothing new under the sun. It is finished. There's nothing you can cook up under the sun that it means anything exactly. So what do you worship? What do you see? And ultimately, what do you endure? Do you endure the sufferings of the world, or do you endure life in the flesh that surely dies, feeding from the knowledge of good and evil, which clearly we are? For in doubt, who knew? Notion of separation, good and evil. But no, you're not the synthesis. No. So all these people, right? All these apparent geniuses that are in Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, all these Bosch innovators, right? What are they trying to do? We're trying to solve the problems of the world, right? No, they're just trying to make some coin at something that is, number one, apparently novel. Number two, somehow, virtuous amongst all the other products, right? Because somehow they're just the greatest thing that could have come up now. So you must get it. And all this and this and that and this and this and that. Nothing. For what are you truly buying? What are you purchasing? Nothing. You're in debt. You're in debt, fully in the red. You're beyond, apparent rising above from the ashes. Exactly. It's beyond that. No. It is surely now the hacking, the obvious hacking at the lifeline that is happening. The carnage. The bloodbath. You can see it being manipulated left and right. I mean, and it would, who knew that executing, the program to separate, how long does the flesh endure that? How long how long does life through your witnessing endure? Well, somehow up until now it has. Wow. So what is life? You have no clue. What is truth? You have no clue. And what is the way? Well, you're sure is making your way, right? Well, my way and this way and their way and his way and her way and they way and everywhere. Every way. So now Safeway is every way. They changed their name. They were sold, but then bought again, then rehashed the name, and then sold to you as something else. Wow, who knew? This is Bosch.
So I think, I don't know if people noticed it in the video, but there's no real limit to how many levels of tunnel you can have.
Oh, he's like, I don't know if you saw in the video, but there's no limit. So before it was the sky's the limit, now no. The core of the earth is the limit to him. But maybe he's thinking, no, instead of blasting through the sun, guys, we're going to blast through the earth's core because that's the true portal. Guys, we had it wrong. It wasn't the sun. It was the core. It was the core. Right? And then you're going to be, wow, what a genius. Who knew that we just have to blast to the core of the earth and we will be saved? And all this and that and this and this and this. And not that, but thus this, and this as well. But not those things or these, but definitely that and this and this and that. Smashed. Right? So this guy's, there's no limit to the layers. Yeah, there's no limit to the layers of fantastical diarrhea you can come to cook up and present as the future. All the while, just day in, day out, relentless hog day, groundhog day, and your hog day, and just pushing, 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 destruction, 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 defilement, 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 abuse, abuse, abused, and now he's triggered, and then he's just doing something else and boasting and bashing and talking about some other bash.
See, you can go much further deep than you can go up. The deepest mines are much deeper than the tallest buildings are tall.
Oh,
So
the deepest mines are deeper than the tallest buildings are tall. What exactly? So he's saying mines are, wow, somehow deeper. So we've gone deeper into the earth than we have risen buildings. Wow. What a shame. Because what is he saying? What is this bash saying? He's like, guys, we're already doing it, or it's already been done. So why don't we just do it, guys? That's basically what he's saying. But no, he's the face. He's the face of selling you something. Okay, so everybody believes that all the buildings and all the churches in North America that are just outstanding. You know, you say, well, they're European influenced. And this and that and this and this and that and that and this and this and that and that. So what's going on, right? Apparently it was just all the Bash slaves that built it, and apparently just all the sufferings of the world that somehow the pioneers got together and said, listen, we just love Europe so much, so we're going to just borrow their techniques for just these buildings. The rest will just bash and bash and bash and bash and bash and bash and bash, 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 bash. No. What is going on? Were those buildings already there? What was going on? Who was living there? What was going on? And people were both Aboriginal traditions have been lost and this and this and that. And then there's like canals, right? You say they had irrigation, just outstanding irrigation systems. Wow, they were so amazing. Wow. So somehow you believe both, right? Somehow you believe that, wow, that somehow they had amazing technology, infrastructure, but somehow also were just bash savages of some sort. Just primitive, right? Just bows and arrows and this and bash, right? So which is it? Were they just bash, nothings and this, or were they geniuses, capable of building, just as man has always been, right? But you, of course, you believe in evolution, so this is just your own belief. So what is going on? Exactly, you don't know. So when this bash that, oh, he's boring, oh, or it's just life is boring, right? What is he saying?
you can alleviate any arbitrary level of urban congestion with the 3D tunnel network. This is a very important point. So a key rebuttal to the tunnels is that if you add one layer of tunnels, then that will simply alleviate congestion. It'll get used up, and then you'll be back where you started, back with congestion. But you can go to any arbitrary number of tunnels, any number of levels.
But people seem...
Oh, any arbitrary number. Just you name. I'm thinking of a number between 0 and infinity. Go! I'm just thinking of a number in infinity, right? Infinity, infinity, upon infinity. This guy's like, oh, let me think real hard about this. And the guy's just like, wow, he's actually thinking about this. And he's like, next thing.
traditionally it's incredibly expensive to dig, and that would block this idea.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these bash questions are just so bash. And he's like, well, obviously. So people are thinking, well, how is this giving? So they're just easing you. And he's like, well, obviously that will cost a lot of money. How do you propose this will be paid for? And the guy's like, well, okay, so like I already told you in rehearsal, but I'll tell you again. You bash. No, he doesn't care. He's just delivering. He loves it.
You're right. To give you an example, the LA subway extension, which is I think it's a 2.5-mile extension that was just completed for $2 billion. So it's roughly $1 billion a mile to do the subway extension.
Right, $2 billion, right? Of what? Taxpayer money, perhaps? Or this, or this, or that, or this? Or no, it was all from the private sector, or this, or... Fine, $2 billion. Wow. So how many construction workers did that take? Because I mean, construction workers get a bad rap, but from the city in this, right? Because it's like, you say there's about 30 of them for just, uh, holding a stop sign, or this or that or the other. So what is this guy saying? So for the bashed ways we do things today, it costs $2 billion. That means nothing. It comes down to either you can or you won't. Or is this exactly, because you call it a dream or a plan or a vision, but it's fantasy. Or it's the attempt to create some new vision for the American dream. A rehash of connecting. Now we're connected with RIFIDs, and now you can just link up and go anywhere in the world and appear. In less than 5 minutes, you can be anywhere in the world. And this and this and that and this and this and this and that. So what happened to VR, buddy? Why don't you just make it VR, that you can travel in your avatar and just snap anywhere, even in the Gaias out there, right? You can go to relentless Gaias and just land and just create your own species and own pathways of evolution. Yeah, smashed.
In LA. And this is not the highest utility subway in the world. So
he's like, it's not the best one, and it costs $2 billion.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to dig tunnels normally. I think we need to have at least a tenfold improvement in the cost per mile of tunneling.
Wow, who knew? So now he's going to boast about how we must come up with a budgeting and accounting and just engineering to just cut down the cost at least tenfold. Or whatever the bash he said. And what is he saying? By a factor of 10, and this and that. For truly, he's selling you a dream, just as now the dream is to go to space. So now the dream is now to go underground. As above, so below. That's what he worships. The elements. Conquering, he's of course the alchemist. So now everyone believes in the alchemy of the heavens, and now they're going for the alchemy of the earth. But who knew there's nothing new under the sun? For as in the days of Noah, so are in the ages of man. And that's truly what is being lived in deception. For what you interpret as, what were the 1,000 years that Christ promises his followers? When did that happen? Exactly. You have no clue. Yet you're relentlessly thinking you're swimming and floating with it that defileth. In deception, in complete negation of life, in complete trauma, a state of trauma and abuse, that at this point anything triggers you. Anything to do with your relentless identification with the world. All as you boast as how you're not identified with the world and transcending with baby Buddha somewhere, swimming. No, lost.
And how could you achieve that?
I guess, uh, actually, if you just do two things, you can get to approximately an order of magnitude improvement, and I think you can go
Oh,
beyond that.
gosh.
So the first thing to do is to cut the tunnel diameter uh, by a factor of two.
Oh, so who knew you scale down on materials and this and just don't go as big. Just scale it down. Whoa. So none of this is intriguing. So no wonder and boring. The future we're building and boring.
Two or more. So a single road lane tunnel would
And who knew exactly? In the title is everything. The future we're building. Right? Not the vision of the future we're presenting. No. The one they're building. Exactly. The little builders. Bob the builders. Yes, he can. Yay! Build it, Bob. You can do it. Yes, we can. And this and this and that and that. Right? Feeling, union, camaraderie through the worker. And this and that and this and this and that and this and this. The labor is the foundation of society. And this and this and that and that. Wow, what a shame. What work? Exactly. All the work is in vain, for it pushes something that smashes you into smithereens, but you don't see it. For you just pick up the smithereens and just throw it amongst yourself and say, "Yay, party, confetti! Let's go pick it up again." But oh, I'm just so void and always unfulfilled and always rubbernecking and this. But somehow it's just evolution and I don't know what's going on. But somehow I just have to have self-control and not have that cookie whenever I want the cookie, but me want cookie. And me know me must have self-control and all this bash. Right? Because truly you are in a state of self-awareness and doubt. So for you, self and the split selves and the higher selves and the middle selves and just sub-selves. Subs and relentless categories and doubt. We're just the onion. We're the relentless onion that we just haven't peeled yet, but it relentlessly makes me cry. Wow. And this guy couldn't wait to just deliver his next bashhood.
would, according to regulations, has to be 26 feet, maybe 28 feet in diameter to allow for crashes and emergency vehicles and sufficient.
Allow for crashes. Guys, so at 200 kilometers per hour, good luck. No, nothing will save you. He's like, no, guys, we have super technology that instantly it fills with water, so instantly the impact is absorbed by the water and just somehow you live. What is going on? What is going on? We have to account for just the relentless deaths that will happen and just don't even mention the ones that will happen during the building and thus and this, but no, somehow we're aiming to make it fully robotic, so therefore there's no lives lost and therefore we can just send you the images of how the work is going. Just like the images and footage we get from the space station. Amazing. So who knew there's going to be a space uh the shredder mobile that's just gonna shred into the earth and just have a relentless camera and a crew on board that's gonna be paving the way to the sub underground future. Who knew? And then they'll unveil all the relentless cities that were under there, right? Of the ones who were apparently trying to avoid destruction. You're building an ark. You want an ark. Against what? But you certainly don't want to be on the surface for it. What's going on? Why do you want to just... Oh, it's like, well, it's just more efficient, guys. He's like, come on, we're already doing it.
ventilation for combustion engine cars. But if you shrink that diameter to what we're attempting, which is 12 feet, which is plenty to get an electric skate through, you drop the diameter by a factor of 2 and the cross-sectional area by a factor of 4. So, and the tunneling cost.
So at this point, people are just like, wow, this guy's so smart. No. He could have just subbed it up and saying, okay, we'll scale down the size, build materials, and time needed. And this and that and this and this. And so, wow.
Scales with the
But he's
cross-sectional.
like, no, factor, cross-sectional factor of 4, this, so on, diameter factor of 2, and then you multiply and square, and you give us the trigonometry of this, and the fractal says this and this and that. All of a sudden, we have the solution, guys. Don't worry, we got it under control.
Area. So that's roughly a half order of magnitude improvement right there. Then tunneling machines currently tunnel for half the time, then they stop, and then the rest of the time is putting in reinforcements for the tunnel wall. So if you design the machine instead to do continuous tunneling and reinforcing, that'll give you a factor of 2 improvement.
Oh, gosh. Right. So what about isn't there a concept of, paving the way to space already? Yes. And isn't there a notion of, wow, even paving the roads to another city? Why, if the technology, certainly you see the relentless work being done every season in Northern Hemisphere. After the winter months, the work begins, fixing the highways, this and this. They come and scrape the first layer off, then the other guy comes and scrapes it off and brush it off, and then they stick the asphalt, and then the roller comes on. So what is this guy saying? Why isn't there just this one worm that goes and does, garbles it up, recycles it, bashes it now, and at the same time is paving it at the same time? But somehow it hasn't been or doesn't, function above ground. So this guy's telling you, yes, it will work underground.
Find that, and it's a factor of 8. Also, these machines are far from being at their power or thermal limit. So you can jack up the power to the machine substantially. I think you can get at least a factor of 2, maybe a factor of 4 or 5 improvements on top of that. So I think there's a fairly straightforward series of steps to get
people will say, well, who knew it takes people like this to just actually get things done? So what are you talking about? Leave them alone. And wow. To get what done exactly? Feed you more bash so that you can boast in your own filth? Yes. For who knew that you're just signing away your own life and the life of the probably next apparent 3 generations or so for a bash vision that all the while is just going to keep you day in, day out, Groundhog Day, and bashing you, suffering, contorting you, this, and all selling you false promise. Because that's what it is. There's nothing to gain under the sun in the flesh that dies. In feed of knowledge of good and evil. Because all the while we denied to drink of the waters of the Father that replenish. For we just boasted in our own conviction that we are alone, that this is just some arbitrary, bash. Somehow amazing, but we're just therefore have to take responsibility for it. And somehow we must better it and assure its transcendence. And this and that. Wow, no. The Creator's creation has resolved. So what do you see? It is finished. All the buildings that you see that were built in some other civilization's time and this, wow, exactly. Proof that it's already been done. It's finished. Nothing that you were ever built again will ever match what was already built. but you will boast about how you're just superb, and all those other ones didn't have space stations like we do, and they certainly didn't have just the greatest engineered buildings that we do. Wow, what shame. Nothing comes close to what has already been built. And these are just the smithereens that are left. So where does that put you? Where does that put us? Where does that put the living? Where does that put life? You don't know. For you don't even know what you're seeing. You have to wait to have people like this tell you what it is that you're seeing and how you can just join him and envision some past future, all while abusing life about what the future is. Smashed.
Assess an order of magnitude improvement in the cost per mile. And our target actually is we've got a pet snail called Gary. This is from Gary the snail from South Park. SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, he mixed up the two.
So Gary is capable of currently he's capable.
So who knew that they worship SpongeBob SquarePants? And he mentioned South Park too, so he worships both of them. Both shows that are completely riddled with half-truths, double smashes, and this and that, and this and this, but somehow presenting it to you in some way that somehow now it influences the way you perceive things.
Going 14 times faster than a tunnel boring machine. Okay.
You want to beat Gary.
We want to beat Gary. Yeah. He's not a patient little fellow.
Right, who knew they want to beat a snail? Amazing.
And we want that will be victory. Victory is beating the snail.
But a lot of people dreaming about future cities, they imagine that actually the solution is sort of flying cars, drones, etc. You go above ground. Why isn't that a better solution? You save all that tunneling cost.
Right. I'm in favor of flying things. Obviously, I do rockets. So I like things that fly.
So he's looking down relentlessly. Looking down, 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 down. As you know, I love rockets. I do rockets.
This is not some inherent bias against flying things, but there is a challenge with flying cars in that they'll be quite noisy.
Musk, have you forgotten you sent a car into space? So clearly you did it. So clearly it is you that will show us how to just fly cars.
The wind force generated will be very high. Let's just say that...
He's like, the wind force will be too hard for, so that's why planes are just the best to fly. And cars are meant to be driven.
If something's flying over your head, if there are a whole bunch of flying cars going all over the place, that is not an anxiety-reducing situation.
He's like, exactly. We must have them locked down in a grid. We have to know exactly where to go to avoid any possible collision and this and this and that. Or just to lower anxiety. Really? Wouldn't it just be the same as a plane? You have relentless controllers, you have radar, you know what's going on. Apparently, somehow, detector, somehow you could just engineer your bash instead of all the factors of crushing numbers that you mentioned just previously. Why don't you crush numbers about how you would design the car that would just be totally car crash proof, but just multiple sensors on all angles of the sphere that it would probably be, and you could just be in a little sphere and just blast wherever you want to go.
You don't think to yourself, well, I feel better about today. You're thinking like, did they service their hubcap? Or is it going to come off and guillotine me as they're flying past?
So who knew? He's telling you, going above is not the answer. So he's telling you that space is ridiculous. But yet he boasts in it. So what's going on?
And so you've got this vision then, future cities with these rich 3D networks of tunnels underneath. Is there a tie-in here with
Oh,
Hyperloop? Could you
okay,
apply
okay.
these tunnels to use for this Hyperloop idea you released a few years ago?
Yeah, so we've been sort of puttering around with the Hyperloop stuff for a
Hyperloops.
while. We built a Hyperloop test track adjacent to SpaceX just for a student competition to encourage innovative ideas in transport. It actually ends up being the biggest vacuum chamber in the world after the Large Hadron Collider
Oh, who knew? Just boasting.
by volume. It was sort of quite fun to do that, but it was kind of a hobby thing. And then we think we might. So we developed a little pusher car to push the student pods, but we're going to try seeing how fast we can make the pusher go if it's not pushing something. So, I mean, like sort of cautiously optimistic we'll be able to be faster than the world's fastest bullet train, even in a.
Oh, so exactly, right? Connect every city through hyperlinks. Vacuum tubes and this and this and this.
0.8 mile stretch.
Whoa.
Um,
Good breaks.
it's yeah. I mean, it's either going to smash into tiny pieces or.
But you can
Go
picture
quite fast.
then a Hyperloop in a tunnel
Yes.
running quite long distances.
Exactly. So in looking at tunneling technology, it turns out that in order to make a tunnel, you have to, in order to seal against the water table, you've got to typically design a tunnel wall to be a good to about 5 or 6 atmospheres. So to go to vacuum is only 1 atmosphere, or near vacuum. So actually, it sort of turns.
Exactly. So it's 5 times, right? In air atmosphere, it's only 1. Underground to withstand the water table, 5.
Turns out that automatically, if you build a tunnel that is good enough to resist the water table, it is automatically capable of holding vacuum.
Huh.
So, yeah.
And so you can actually picture this like
So, it'd be a vacuum, hypertube, underground. Exactly.
what kind of length tunnel is in Elon's future to running Hyperloop?
Yeah, I think there's no real length limit. You could dig as much as you want. I think if you were to do something like a DC to New York Hyperloop, I think you'd probably want to go underground the entire way because it's a high density area. You're going under a lot of buildings and houses, and if you go deep enough, you cannot detect the tunnel. Sometimes people think, well, it's going to be pretty annoying to have a tunnel dug under my house. Like if that tunnel is dug more than about 3 or 4 tunnel diameters beneath your house, you will not be able to detect it being dug at all. In fact, like if you're able to detect the tunnel being dug, whatever device you're using, you can get a lot of money for that device from the Israeli military, who is trying to detect tunnels from Hamas, and from the U.S.
Wow.
Customs and Border Patrol that try to detect drug tunnels. So,
So, what's going on? What seismology? Seismographs. And you're like, well, it just measures the murmurs of the Earth's crust and the shifting, any vibration, any anomaly. So apparently, you can feel an earthquake, right? In your house, or if you're outside, you can feel it. But you can't detect some bash thing digging a tunnel if it's 3 tunnel dimensions lower than your house. What is going on? Does that mean you're doing it already there, buddy? Or what are you saying actually?
If you, the reality is that Earth is incredibly good at absorbing vibrations, and once the tunnel depth is below a certain level, it is undetectable. Maybe if you have a very sensitive seismic instrument, you might be able to detect it.
So you've started a new company to do
Well,
this
you
called...
might be able. So, what does that say about borders? Exactly nothing. Borders are but a figment of imagination, and not because, oh yeah, we're all one and this. No, because then it means in name only do people identify with regions of the earth under one flag, where they're all serving a purpose in that flag. They're like the clans. The clans. What clans are they? What clan are they boasting? But like the corporations, they all have one master, or just five, just a handful. But then they split and split and divert and divert, and and all of a sudden there's apparent choice of infinity. Yet somehow they're owned by the five bashes or some bash. Who cares? But the same bash, right? The splitting, the worship of the light. Who knew?
The Boring Company. Very nice, very, very funny. But
What's funny about that?
how much of your time is this?
It's maybe
He mentioned hobby before.
2 or 3%.
Wow.
You've called it a hobby. This is what an Elon Musk hobby looks like.
I mean, it really is, like, we actually, this is basically interns and people doing it part-time. So this is, we bought, some secondhand machinery, and it's kind of puttering along, but it's making good progress, so.
So who knew they're testing the water? I mean, it's just relentless temperature checking and bastering. So they're like, okay, we got so many projects on the go, so let's just see which one catches, let's see which one to boast about, which one not. Just temperature check and now deliver. Deliver.
Oh.
So an even bigger part of your time is being spent on electrifying cars and transport through Tesla. Is one of the motivations for the tunneling project the realization that actually in a world where cars are electric and where they're self-driving, there may end up being more cars on the roads on any given hour than there are now?
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's because the traffic is now going to get even worse. So, wow.
A lot of people think that when you make cars autonomous, that they'll be able to go faster and that will alleviate congestion. And to some degree, that will be true. But once you have shared autonomy where it's much cheaper to go by car, and you can go point to point, the affordability of going in a car will be better than that of a bus. Like, it will cost less than a bus ticket. So the amount of driving that will occur will be much greater with shared autonomy, and actually traffic will get far worse.
I mean, you started Tesla with the goal of persuading the world that electrification was the future of cars.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, people were laughing at you. Now, not so much. I mean...
Okay.
Well, I mean, isn't
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe but isn't it true that pretty much every auto manufacturer has announced serious electrification plans for the short to medium term future?
Yeah. I think almost every automaker has some electric vehicle program. They vary in seriousness. Some are very serious about transitioning entirely to electric, and some are just...
So who knew that this guy plays the private sector, underdog in this? Again, he's the one man against the industry that is the multiples of multiples, right? But somehow he's the private sector innovator. And this is the genius that somehow is doing because he can. Yes. Wow. Boaster of do's thou wilt, and he's bashing you and giving you the image that you want to be fed with.
Traveling in it. And some, amazingly, are still pursuing fuel cells, but I think that won't last much longer.
But isn't there a sense, though, Elon, where you could now just declare victory and say, you know, we did it, let the world electrify, and you go on and focus on other stuff?
He's
Yeah,
like, let there be light. This is what this guy is saying. He's like, can you just say to the world, let there be light, and just go on with it? Wow, what a shame. What is he saying? Yes, surely worshippers of the light, and that they believe that they're the love and the light is here to smash, and are smashing you in it. Who knew? But no, they're what are they doing? Just wearing relentless vests and this, and just the right black outfit, just the right kinds of shades of off tones, and this and that. All boasting what? That somehow, well, the thing with electricity is, I boasted about it and now somehow it seems to have catched. No. He's playing the part. Because now it has to apparently feel like it's coming from the people. Because if all this time, right, the apparent car, companies haven't presented you with the alternative, they say, well, because oil was too good. Right. It wasn't that you needed a champion, from somebody you could identify that wasn't one of the companies that already are out there that you probably believe that are all in it just for the money and this and that. And obviously they're just oil hungry and power hungry and this and that. That's why they haven't given you the electric car. And if they were going to give it to you, it was going to be too expensive and this and that. And it's just not, they weren't going to support the infrastructure needed for it. So somehow you needed a people champion. Well, here he is. The people's champion. Sold to you in a refurbished package, light shifted, shifting, malleable-esque of a Musk.
Well, I intend to stay with Tesla as far into the future as I can imagine. And there are a lot of exciting things that we have coming. We've got obviously the Model 3 that's coming soon. We'll be unveiling the Tesla semi-truck. And maybe
well, we're gonna come to this. So Model 3. So it's supposed to be coming in July-ish.
Yeah, it's looking quite good for starting production in July.
Excited. He's like, whoa,
wow. One of the things that people are so excited about is the fact that it's got autopilot. And you put out this video a while back showing what that technology looked like or would look like.
Yeah.
There's obviously autopilot in Model S right now.
Yeah.
What are we seeing here?
Yeah, so this is using only cameras and a GPS. So there's no LiDAR or radar being used here. This is just using passive optical, which is essentially what a person uses. The whole road system is meant to be navigated with passive optical or cameras. And so once you solve cameras...
Right, guys, so somehow you see this as, wow, think of all the accidents that could be prevented just because now you just get into a car and you don't even drive it. So now you're not even the mule riding the horse and the horse riding the carriage and the rider riding the cat and the spider that ate the monkey and somehow it just regurgitated you. Who knew that this was making a mockery of you, that you've given up control. But bash control, right? The notion of control. Control is a figment of your imagination. Something always to strive for. For in your boasting of self-control, there's always anguish. And that's why you boast even more of how you will just discipline your way into somehow the core of the earth. Who knew? Right? Because you've just given up. That's why you do it. This is you giving up and saying, yep, I'm full in. Plug me in. Where do I plug in? Do I plug in here? Or do I plug in here? Just tell me. Just hook me up. I see the bait, but I want just hook it to my veins.
Or vision. then autonomy is solved. If you don't solve vision, it's not solved. So that's why our focus is so heavily
To creating the artificial eye. He's like, well, we gotta fix the vision, so somehow that's what we have to do.
on having
So who knew that this gets into the third eye notion, this and that, somehow they're gonna put this device that you just put over your head and it senses your third eye bash, and somehow you just drive. It drives for you. You don't have to do anything. You just sit there and just bash.
vision neural net that's very effective for road conditions.
Oh, the
Right, many
neural
other people are going the
network.
LiDAR route. You want cameras plus radar is most of it.
You can absolutely be superhuman with just cameras. Like you could probably do 10 times better than humans with just cameras.
So the new
Wow.
cars being sold right now have eight.
You can do 10 times better than human just with cameras. Who knew he's telling you, right? Instead of theater, now they do the image presentation with cameras and blast you with a screen of whatever it is that they're pushing. Who knew?
Eight cameras in them.
Yeah.
That they can't yet do what that showed. When will they be able to?
Exactly. They cannot yet do what you just showed in that image. Oh, so somehow he cooked up that robot, did it, recorded it somehow, right? It couldn't all be fake. No. The data is there. All the data, and the guy will come and give his testimony about, yes, he was the one sitting in there, and I went there, I did it. Amazing. So boast in it, yes. Boast in how you're creating the artificial third eye. And this and that and this. Wow, what a shame. Even in your own worship, what a shame.
I think we're still on track for being able to go cross country from LA to New York by the end of the year, fully autonomous. And
Okay, so a car, by the end of the year, you're saying someone's going to sit in a Tesla without touching the steering wheel, tap in New York, off it goes.
Yeah.
Won't have to ever touch the wheel by the end of 2017.
Yeah, essentially November.
So that hesitation, of course it's not. And fine, if it did, well, boast in it. Just as his boast and everyone's boast in the car he launched to space.
Or December of this year, we should be able to go from all the way from a parking lot in California to a parking lot in New York, no controls touched at any point during the entire journey.
Whoa.
Amazing.
So who knew that this guy, right, at this point, has flush aces, just, pocket aces every time. Because now he's truly king, right? Because he's beat, all the space agencies and made a mockery of them by putting a parent car in space. This and that and this and this and that and that and that. And all the space agencies are still trying to go put a man on the moon again and all this bash. All while relentlessly boasting about how they're in Mars and this and just paving the way to space. Who knew? So just relentless mockery of you and just slamming you.
Part of that is possible because you've already got a fleet of Teslas driving all these roads. You're accumulating a huge amount of data of that national road system.
Yes, but the thing that will be interesting is that I'm actually fairly confident it will be able to do that route even if you change the route dynamically. So, like it's fairly easy. If you say I'm going to be really good at one specific route, that's one thing. But it should be able to really be very good. Certainly, once you enter a highway, to go anywhere on the highway system in a given country. So it's not sort of limited to LA, New York. We could change it and make it Seattle, Florida. That day, or in real time. So you were going from LA to New York. Now go from
say driver, automaton driver, take me to bash, and it'll go, okay, calculating best distance route, okay, going. That's what he's saying. Amazing.
LA to Toronto.
So leaving aside regulation for a second, in terms of the technology alone, the time when someone will be able to buy one of your cars and literally just
They couldn't wait. When
take their
can we
hands off
buy
the
it?
wheel and go to sleep and wake up and find that they've arrived. How far away is that to do that
I think
safely?
that's about 2 years. The real trick of it is not, how do you make it work, say 99.9% of the time? Because if a car crashes, say 1 in 1,000 times, then you're probably still not going to be comfortable falling asleep. That's, you shouldn't be,
Right.
certainly.
So exactly, even 1 in 1,000 would be a failure, would it not? You're like, well, we couldn't say it's 100% because then we wouldn't be honest. So we have to say 99% sure. So there's that 1% chance that you'll just smash. Right. So what about the risk that people take day in, day out about getting in a vehicle that they drive? Everyone does it. Everybody knows it's a risk, yet they do it every day. Nobody even thinks about it. You just get angry when somebody cuts in line, somebody takes your parking spot, or you're late, or this or that. Bash! Oh no, your car broke down. Oh no, bash! This, the other. Exactly. Nobody even cares, right? So now all of a sudden, 1 in 1,000, this guy's gonna be like, well, you guys just smash anyway, so just accept it and just let's move on. So what is he talking about?
But it's not going to be. It's never going to be perfect. No system is going to be perfect. But if you say it's perhaps, it's
right, because it's like, nah, nothing's perfect, guys. So let's just go ahead and just make it half bash, just like the bash half ape we are. So don't worry about it. Right? Wow, blind, blind to the perfection of the creation that we have the witnessing of in flesh that dies. So what do we see? Oh, we just see death, and that's why we worship it. Oh, wow, truly so sad for those who worship that, for who knew it's a life of suffering and dying. All in denial of the glory that is the unconditional love of the Father that exists. The true living God who knew. But no, you just have idols and beacons of light in the sufferings of the world that just give you some false hope of bashing into the earth as well as bashing into the heavens. And just blasting through the sun, the ball of gas that you believe it is.
the car is unlikely to crash in 100 lifetimes or 1,000 lifetimes. Then people are like, okay, wow, if I would live 1,000 lives, I would still most likely never experience a crash. Then that's probably okay.
Just leave. Maybe, I guess a big concern of yours is that people may actually get seduced too early to think that this is safe, and that you'll have some horrible incident happen that puts things back.
Well, I think that the autonomy system is likely to at least mitigate the crash, except in rare circumstances. The thing to appreciate about vehicle safety is this is probabilistic. Right. So that there's some chance that any time a human driver gets in the car that they will have an accident. That is their fault. It's never zero. And so the key threshold for autonomy is how much better does autonomy need to be than a person before you can rely on it.
But once you get that literally safe hands-off driving,
so where's that threshold?
The power to disrupt the whole industry seems massive, because at that point you've spoken of people being able to buy a car,
makes that judgment?
Drops you off at work, and then you let it go and provide a sort of Uber-like service to other people, earn you money, maybe even cover the cost of your lease of that car.
Exactly.
So you can kind of get a car for free. Is that really likely?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what will happen. So there will be a shared autonomy fleet where you buy your car and you can choose to use that car exclusively. You could choose to
or like a library,
have it used only by friends and family, only by 5-star, other drivers who are rated 5-star. You can choose to share it sometimes, but not other times.
Give me a rated
that's
0.5 star
100%
car.
what will occur. It's just a question of when.
Wow. So you mentioned the semi, and I think you're planning to announce this in September, but I'm curious whether there's anything you could show us today.
I will show you a teaser shot of the truck.
Teaser shot.
It's live.
Okay.
No, that's definitely a case where we want to be cautious about the autonomy features.
The shark.
Because
So that's it.
we can't see that much of it.
It's a
It
silhouette.
doesn't look like just a little
It's a
friendly
18
neighborhood
wheeler.
truck. It looks kind of badass. What sort of semi is this?
So this is a heavy-duty, long-range semi-truck. So it's like the highest weight capability and with long range. So essentially, it's meant to alleviate the heavy-duty trucking loads.
Wow, so who knew, like in Mad Max, it's just some bash, just relentless caterpillar that just blasts.
And this is something which people do not today think is possible, to think the truck doesn't have enough power or it doesn't have enough range. And then with the Tesla Semi, we want to show that an electric truck actually can out-torque any diesel semi. And if you had a tug-of-war competition, like the Tesla Semi will tug the diesel Semi uphill.
In short term, these aren't driverless. These are going to be trucks.
So who knew it had to be that big just
drive.
for all the batteries, perhaps, right?
Yes. So what will be really fun about this is you have a flat torque RPM curve with an electric motor, whereas with a diesel motor or any kind of internal combustion engine car, you've got a torque RPM curve that looks like a hill. So this will be a very spry truck. You could drive this around like a sports car. There's no gears. It's like single speed. So
there's a great movie to be made here somewhere. I don't know what it is, and I don't know that it ends well.
No,
but it's a great movie.
the movies have already been made. Blade Runner, this, that, the other, bash, all of them. They've already been made. And rehashes are being pumped out there relentlessly today.
It's quite bizarre test driving when I was driving the test prototype for this truck. It's really weird because you're driving around and you're so nimble, and you're in this giant truck.
Wait, you've already driven a prototype that.
I drove it around the parking lot. I was like, this is crazy.
So why didn't you show a picture of that one and instead you showed a picture of a silhouette?
This is not vaporware.
This is like you're driving this giant truck and it's sort of making these mad maneuvers.
This is cool. Okay, from a really badass picture to a kind of less badass picture. This is just a cute house from Desperate Housewives or something. What on earth is going on here?
Well, this illustrates the picture of the future that I think is how things will evolve. You've got an electric car in the driveway.
Desperate Housewife.
If you look in between the electric car
and every Desperate Housewife will have one of these. Who knew?
And the house, there are actually 3 power walls stacked up against the side of the house, and then that house roof is a solar roof. So that's an actual solar glass roof.
Okay, so that's
a picture of a real. Admittedly, it's a real fake house. That's a real fake house.
And the fact that nobody lives in it, it's a shell.
So these roof tiles, some of them have in them basically
solar
power.
They tell you right in your face, right? It's a real fake one. Wow, who knew? How can something be real and fake? Exactly, it's a real fake. The conundrum. So it's a little model. It's a real model, but it's fake. So not a real house. Amazing. It's a real thing, but nobody lives in it, so it's just a shell. And it wasn't really built outside; it was built inside. We just put the background of the sky and the sun after, and just filled it. What's going on?
The ability to
so the solar glass tiles where you can adjust the texture and the color at a very fine-grained level, and then there's sort of micro louvers in the glass, such that when you're looking at the roof from street level or close to street level, all the tiles look the same whether there is a solar panel behind it or a solar cell behind it or not. So you have an even color from the ground level.
So above level, what? It looks like having a visor and going underwater?
If you were to look at it from a helicopter, you would be actually able to look through and see that some of the glass tiles have a solar cell behind them and some do not.
Right.
So
You put them in the ones that are likely to see a lot of sun.
Yes.
And that makes these roofs super affordable, right? They're not that much more expensive than just tiling the roof.
Yeah. We're very confident that the cost of the roof plus the cost of electricity, that a solar glass roof will be less than the cost of a normal roof plus the cost of electricity. So in other words, this will be economically a no-brainer. We think it will look great, and it will last. I mean, we thought about like having the warranty be infinity, but then people thought, well, that might.
Well, right. And to get it replaced, think of all the wiring. Amazing. It's just we're gonna give your house a vascular system now. Just a roulette. We're gonna buy. It's a biohouse. Right, so the notion of, the relentless permaculturist, right, the Bash that just built his hut outside, right, no, let's just think of the past. No, that's not the Bash way to make a living house. No, you have to bash it with all the fiber optics and this and that and this and the relentless cells and cells upon cells and cells and cells and cells, and now it's a living house.
Might sound like we were just talking rubbish, but actually, this is toughened glass. Like well after the house has collapsed, and there's nothing there, the the glass tiles will still be there.
Well, because they're like rocks, everyone. And who knew that one day there's gonna be a pile of all these Bash roofs, and we'll say, look at all the Bash glass tiling. It's killing the animals. Ah, right? Smashed.
Okay, so I think you're rolling. I mean, this is cool. So you're rolling this out in a couple weeks' time, I think, with four different roofing types.
Yeah, we're starting off with two initially, and then the second two will be introduced early next year.
And what's the scale of ambition here? How many houses do you believe could end up having this type of roofing?
I mean, I think eventually almost all houses will have a solar roof. Now the thing is to consider the time scale here to be probably on the order of 40 or 50 years. So on average, a roof is replaced every 20 to 25 years. So, but you don't start replacing all roofs immediately. But eventually, if you were to fast forward to, say, 15 years from now, it will be unusual to have a roof that does not have solar.
Is there a mental model thing that people don't get here that
So 15 years from now, right? 2030, 2035. It would be weird to not have a solar roof, right? His solar roof, apparently, or any, because the industry will catch on and it'll just bait.
There's been, because of the shift in the sort of cost economics of solar power, that like most houses actually have enough sunlight on their roof pretty much to power all of their needs. If you could capture the power, it could pretty much power all their needs, right? You could go off grid, kind of.
Yeah, it depends on where you are and what the house size is relative to the roof area. But yeah, it's a fair statement to say that most houses in the US have enough roof area to power all the needs of the house.
Okay, so the key to the economics of the cars, the these houses, is the falling price of lithium-ion batteries, which you've made a huge bet on as Tesla. In many ways, that's almost the core competency. And you've decided that to really own that competency, you just have to build the world's largest manufacturing plant and kind of double the world's supply of lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah.
With this guy. What is this?
Yeah, so that's the Gigafactory. progress so far in the Gigafactory. Eventually, you
Wow,
can sort of
the
roughly see
desert
that
somewhere. Amazing.
there's sort of a diamond shape overall, and when it's fully done, it'll look like a giant diamond, or that's the idea behind it. And it's aligned on true north. There's a small detail there.
And capable of producing like 100, eventually like 100 gigawatt hours of batteries a year.
100 gigawatt hours. We think probably more of it, yeah.
And they're actually being produced right now already here, right?
Yeah, we're in production already.
You guys put out this video.
Yeah.
I mean, does that speed it up, or?
That's the slowed down version.
Oh, it's a slow down version.
Is that, how fast does it actually go?
Well, when it's running at full speed, you can't actually see the cells without a strobe light. It's just blur.
And I mean, one of your core ideas, Elon, about what makes an exciting future is a future where we no longer feel guilty about energy. Help us picture this. I mean, how many gigafactories, if you like, does it take to get us there?
It's about 100, roughly. It's not.
Right, so who knew he's selling you so people boasting like, wow, we're just infinite consciousness, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but this guy's gonna sell you energy in a bash cell. So if energy is just everywhere, why is this bash selling you a cell? And wow, how it's just so efficient. Wow, who knew you could just have energy in just the cell? All while you believe yourself to be energy and this and then boasting and how, wow, this is the future. Wow. So are you not energy? And truly, that using the name Tesla is a mockery, because what was Tesla? Don't people boast that he knew how to harvest the energy from the atmosphere, the ether in their terminology, or this or that or this or this or that, without the need of using wiring, copper wires and this and that. And then he was smashed and just taken out of the picture. And then they built all the copper wiring infrastructure and this and that. So who knew? It's nothing new under this. He's doing the same thing. Taking that Bash's name for what apparently he stood for, and then bashing and say, wow, he had great technology and I'm just the innovator just like he was. But now I'm bashing and I'm pushing forward in ways that he wasn't able to. So I'm picking up his torch and this and this and that and this smashed. For he's just bashing you, selling you the infinite, everlasting battery energy source. You could power yourself to infinity and beyond.
10, it's not 1,000, most likely 100.
See, I kind of find this amazing. Like, you can actually picture, if that's right, you can picture what it would take to move the world off this vast fossil fuel thing. It's like you're building one, costs $5 billion, maybe the next one, or whatever, $5 to $10 billion. Like, it's kind of cool that you can picture that project. And you're planning to do
it's kind of cool.
a Tesla, or at least announce another two this year.
So he's like, hopefully we'll get many more of these mega centers, all shaped like different snowflakes and crystals, because the first one was the diamond, the next one will be some other relentless mineral and crystal that I worship, and this and this and that.
I think we'll announce locations for somewhere between 2 and 4 gigafactories later this year. Yeah, probably 4.
Whoa. Okay. I can't
because who knew that he's building something, right? He's mimicking something that has already been done. Ley lines this, bash, build something that looks like a fractal and somehow powers you and this and everybody wants to worship that. And their portals, you're just hard. The Earth has portals, so you're just harvesting the energy from that side. Bash. Who knew? Harvesters of the flesh.
No more teasing from you for here. Like, where? Continent? You can say no.
We need to address a global market. Yeah.
Okay. This is cool.
This is cool.
I think
He's like, I'm
we
lost.
should talk for actually global market. So I have to ask you one question. I'm going to ask you one question about politics. Only one. I'm kind of sick of politics, but I do need to ask you this. You're on a body now giving advice to a guy who has said he doesn't really believe in climate change. And there's a lot of people out there who kind of think you shouldn't be doing that. They'd like you to walk away from that. What would you say to them?
Well, I think that there's, first of all, I'm just on 2 advisory councils where the format consists of going around the room and asking people's opinion on things. And so there's like a meeting every month or 2. That's the sum total of my contribution. But I think to the degree that
So
there
he
are
just gives his opinion. That's his contribution.
people in the room who are arguing in favor of doing something about climate change, or other certain social issues. I've used the meetings I've had thus far to argue in favor of immigration and in favor of climate change. And if I hadn't done that, that wasn't on the agenda before. So maybe nothing will happen, but at least the words were
He's like, guys, we need to get on this, and this is how we're going to do it.
said.
Okay.
He's like, okay, good. You're on board. You're one of us. Everybody applauses.
Let's talk SpaceX and Mars. Last time you were here, you spoke about this, what seemed like a kind of incredibly ambitious dream to develop rockets that are actually reusable. And you've only gone and done it.
Yeah.
I mean, talk us through this. What
took a long
are we
time.
looking at here?
Yeah, so this is one of our rocket boosters coming back from very high and fast in space. So it just delivered the upper stage at high velocity. I think this may have been a sort of a Mach 7 or so delivery of the upper stage. Yeah.
So
Right. Wow.
that was a sped up.
That's the slowed down version.
Exactly. That's see, who knew that cameras can do 10 times better than what a man can do? Because instead of, him acting it out on this stage, having like little models and this and this. No, they can now cook up with cameras and effects. They could just do it 10 times better.
That was the sped up version. But I mean, that's amazing. And several of these failed before you finally figured out how to get to do it. But now
see,
you've
he's
landed.
like, obviously that what we saw is pretty incredible. So obviously you failed until you got it that way, right? He has to bash it into you to be obviously it's so scientific. So they just went through a lot of experiments and this and that. Of course, there's footage of it, smashed.
You've done this, what, 5 or 6 times?
I think
4 or
we're
5?
8 or 9 or something.
Yeah. And
Had to be
for the first time, you've actually reflown one of the rockets that landed. So
we landed the rocket booster and then prepped it for flight again and flew it again. So it's the first reflight of an orbital booster where that reflight is relevant. So it's important to appreciate that reusability is only relevant if it is rapid and complete.
Right.
So like an aircraft or a car, the reusability is rapid and complete. You do not send your aircraft to Boeing in between flights.
Right. So this is allowing you to dream of this really ambitious idea of sending like many people to Mars in 10 or 20 years time, I guess.
Yeah.
In the next 20 years. And you've designed this outrageous rocket to do it. Help us understand the scale of this thing.
Well, I think visually you can see that's person. Yeah, and that's the vehicle.
Wow.
So if that was a skyscraper, that's like a 40. Did I read that?
That's like Austin Powers, the giant ballast that's just flying around. And that's a teeny little guy right down there. Oh, wow. It's just this is the ship from here to this, and relentless passengers and bosh, bosh, bosh. And who knew there's relentless movies about this? The Voyage. So just a rehash, but somehow it's going to be large. Look, it's the Titanic of space. Amazing. But instead of going to the moon, no, to Mars. What? Amazing. Amazing. I mean, that Musk is all about efficiency and all that. Wouldn't it make more sense to populate the moon first? It's so close. It's the next physical body outside of Earth, apparently, according to your Bosch worship. So, if it's the closest thing floating around Earth, why not go there and build the relentless tunnel systems and the domes and all the Bosch things that are just you want to do in Mars? What is going on? Somehow you just want to bypass the moon, just go to Mars, go to war. Who knew that you relentlessly want to go to war? Exactly. Forget the moon, go to war.
Is that 40 stories?
Yeah, maybe a little more, yeah. The thrust level of this is really, this configuration is about 4 times the thrust of the Saturn V moon rocket.
4 times the thrust of the biggest rocket humanity ever created before.
Yeah. I mean,
so instead of going underground and scaling down, go into space, scale big. And he'll just say, of course, it's smart. I'm just you go small, you compress. So you scale down. You go big, you expand, go big. Oh, this guy. I thought this guy believed in as above, so below. So it should be the same scale, same ways, right? Both ways, right? No. You have to understand. It's smashed.
Yeah. I mean, in units of 747, 747 is only about a quarter million pounds of thrust. So so there are for every 10 million pounds of thrust, there's 47. So this would be the thrust equivalent of 120 747s, with all engines blazing.
And so even with a machine designed to escape Earth's gravity, I think you told me last this thing could actually take a fully loaded 747, people, cargo, everything, into orbit.
Exactly. This can take a fully loaded 747 with maximum fuel, maximum passengers, maximum cargo on the 747. This can take it as cargo.
So based on this, you presented recently this interplanetary transport system, which is visualized this way. And this is a scene you picture in 30 years' time, 20 years' time?
Wow, look at
people
all the imagery.
Walking into this.
Look at all the camera work presenting you the Bosch, wow, this is the future.
This rocket.
I mean, I'm hopeful it's sort of in the 8 to 10 year time frame. Aspirationally, that's our target. Our internal.
Wow, 8 to 10 years. So everyone, before 2030, it's all gonna happen. 2020 is 2021, right? 2020. That's already too late, buddy.
Targets are more aggressive, but I think,
Okay.
So he's
this vehicle seems
he's being laughed at, but no, this is because they praise him so much.
Quite large, and is large by comparison with other rockets. I think.
Wow, look at all this amazing
the
CGI.
future
Amazing.
Spacecraft
You're like,
will be.
of course it has to be CGI because it's not yet happened. Wow, smashed. You know what's happened? Already your cooked worship of it. That's what's already happened.
Will make this look like a rowboat. I mean, this is the future spaceships will be truly enormous.
Why, Elon? Why do we need to build a city on Mars with 1 million people on it? in your lifetime, which I think is kind of what you've said you'd love to do.
Yeah, I think it's important
In
to
his
have.
lifetime.
Um,
He's like, it's not good enough for me to leave a legacy and die and then have some other bash carry it out. No, no, no. I must complete it. I must finish it. Wow, the ultimate defier. No, it's already been finished. So what do you see, Musk? No, you're just relentlessly hoping people follow your scent. But you're descending, who knew? And you've already descended with the descended. And you've already chosen firmly your allegiance. So clearly you want to execute all of this fantasy in your lifetime. To do as thou wilt and to do as you imagine and make manifest. That is what you worship in the flesh. You want to prove yourself right relentlessly in making what you fantasize manifest in flesh. And therefore you then say, yes, I am the alchemist. I am the ultimate. I am the God. And this and that. Who knew that that's the worship of everyone? And they mask it in swarm ways. But this guy somehow is just, the relentless champion.
a future that is inspiring and appealing. I mean, I just think that there have to be reasons that you get up in the morning and you want to live. Like, why do you want to live? What's the
Oh, he couldn't. Okay, because wow, this is probably the most. Like if people were lost, before now. Okay, pay attention to what this Bash is saying. What do you live for? He's like, you have to want to wake up and want to live. Because what this guy is saying is like, otherwise, what reason do you have to live for, people? He's like, look around. It's just Bashhood. So he's telling you to your face. He's saying, wow, you're all bashed. Everything is bashed. I'm just cooking up something that I can just somehow just sell and say and promise that it will happen. So what has that created? More bashhood. But he's telling you what he's doing. So he's telling you, I'm bashing you with your bash, and now you worship me for it. Wow, who knew that the bashhood rewards those who worship the bash? So he worships it because he's already committed that this is his reward in the flesh. And so he boasts and feeding you exactly what you want to be guzzling down. Because he's telling you, he's like, guys, you need this. This is what he's saying. He's like, guys, you need this because otherwise you are just killing each other, murdering, slaying yourselves in a bloodbath mayhem. And you deny it. He's telling you to your face. He's like, guys, you need this because this is how we create Groundhog Day. This is the mechanism by which you are just bent and packed at the Achilles heel and you just fall down. You cannot stand the weight. Your infrastructure has been just demolished. You have no foundation. No pillar which holds you up. You stand and crumble.
point? What inspires you? What do you love about the future? And if we're not out there,
Exactly. So he's giving you the dream because you have zero certainty. You are void of love, all while you boast in false love that turns on you on a dime, and you turn on it on a dime. Smash and smash, smash and dash, and have smashed and dashed on. So it's just relentless.
does not include being out there among the stars and being a multi-planet species. I find that it's incredibly depressing. If that's not
Oh, he's like, if we're not a multiplanetary, interspecies, I find that just horribly depressing. He's like, if life isn't that, man, I just want to put a bullet through my brains or somebody else's, and then I'll just keep on smashing. So what is he saying? He's saying the Bash half ape that he came from just didn't know that he was smashing and going. He's like, no, that's why it was evolution. It had to get to the point where we now can go out there. That was the whole point, Kai. He's saying this was the whole point for us to come to this Bash half ape, quarter ape, half mouse, half Bash, nothing, and this and that, and now we just have to cook our way out because now we can. No. Life has been what it always has been, life everlasting. And now in your bashed out, with sight of knowledge of good and evil, you have certainly succumbed to the murmur of false promise, of creating a life eternal for yourself in the flesh somehow, to extend it, push it, yeah, just stretch it out, stretch that glove out, and the friction is so good. And somehow you're going to ejaculate your way through the sun back to some Gaia that's out there and just murmur with Venus and the Mercury and the messenger and all have a baby and rebirth yourself somehow, blah, somewhere else to the multiplexes of verses. Smashed. And this guy's telling you, he's like, if you don't have a dream of going to space, you're bashed. And he's going to boast and say, the Egyptians always wanted to bash through to the stars. They wanted to go back to the gods. And this, and that. And you say, everybody just wanted to go to bash stars. Everyone, right? So they wanted to, so somehow they disappeared. So somehow you conclude that they boasted to the sun. They boasted to the points of light in the sky somehow. And just transcended. So now you're trying to do it, right? So he's like, I'm just falling and standing on the shoulders of giants. They showed me the way to boast through the sun back to the multiplexes of verses. So I'm going to do it, build the technology, have you consented and just to go and defile and abuse the life you have. All in denial of the true promise of life everlasting with the Father forever. And that's why you're uncertain, and that's why you believe this, Bash.
not the future that we're going to have.
See, he's like, if we don't have this as a vision,
people want to position this as an either-or. That there are so many desperate things happening on the planet now, from climate to poverty to you pick
right.
your.
So everybody's like, guys, just wish upon a star, and that's how you make life good. Just wish upon a star, and life will become good. Or at least, the ends of the false promise appear to be the greatest thing ever. Escapism. So we're just going to make it manifest in the fractal ways that you will accept best. So temperature checking temperature. Do these guys want to go to space for sure? Do they want to escape that bad? Okay, let's give it to them somehow. Imagery. Somehow make them work for it. Make them build the models and let them fail a few times. Somehow just, it can't be done. We'll just cook it up on the screen. This, that, and the other, and somehow just present it as now we're in space rotating the Earth. Wow, hey guys, let me show you how the water just floats around. Amazing! Smashed by the light. No clue that the cameras do it 10 times better than any theater could if man just bashing insane lines in this. Now they smash you through camera work. Wow.
Issue. And this feels like a distraction. You shouldn't be thinking about this. You should be solving what's here and now. And to be fair, you've done a fair old bit to actually do that with your work on sustainable energy. But why not just do that?
No.
Well, I think there's...
He's like, I have to do it all. I want it all.
I think I look at the future from a standpoint of the probabilities. It's like a branching
He's
stream.
like, oh, I'm just data. I'm just definitely. I look at it in two ways. Okay, two ways.
Of probabilities. And
Probabilities.
there are
Yeah,
actions
definitely.
that we can take that affect those probabilities.
What a bash. He's like, oh, I take life as probabilities, and what are the probabilities of probabilities?
Or that accelerate one thing or slow down another thing, introduce something new to the probability
So he's all about manipulation. Who knew he's telling you that? He's like, listen, it comes down to this. I like to meddle.
stream. Sustainable energy will happen no matter what. If there was no Tesla, if Tesla never existed, it would have to happen out of necessity. It's tautological. If you don't have sustainable energy, it means you have unsustainable energy. Eventually, you'll run out, and
Right, so who knew? Like people say, what? See, this is proof. He's gonna say everybody changes out of necessity. So he's like, the trick is whether you make it happen without the crisis needing to happen or whatever trauma necessary for that change to apparently happen, or is it an easement, or can you profit off of it? And all the while, just it's inevitable. So how do you just cut the wave and just ride it relentlessly and appear as being the most courageous for just going out there and smashing in the biggest wave ever? No. Idol worship, further peddling, defilement, abuse of the flesh. Continue doing as thou wilt, all while feeling virtuous because somehow he's the champion.
the laws of economics will drive civilization towards sustainable energy, inevitably. The fundamental value of a company like Tesla is the degree to which it accelerates the advent of sustainable energy faster than it would.
So inevitably, so Tesla, apparently was onto something to do with free energy. So in many sense, and people will boast, yeah, there's all these technologies already out there that are free energy, so they're just not pushed because the industry won't accept, blah, 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 smashed. So if it's inevitable, then that means it's already here. And not in the sense as like a musician's way, oh, I don't know, I didn't write that song, I just picked it out of the ether. No. It's already here in the sense of, wow. It's purposefully not being supposedly used. But is it because man won't or because he can't? Because instead of saying, yeah, it's all about just timing and this, it's inevitable, but this is somehow we just have to re-engineer it and just retro-engineer and bash. So, what of a man's worship? If you believe a man is energy that cannot be created nor destroyed, what is the worship of said energy? You're like, well, there's no such thing as worship, and if you're energy, you're just energy. It's just vast consciousness, expansive, and this and this and that. Smash. So you're the judge of what you are then. So you know what you are, and then you're trying to figure out what you are in the world. Through science and bash. What a shame. They're blasting through, rockets to some bash thing that you think you can get to. Wow, what a shame. And you boast that you can because you present images of what it is to be smashing out there. Wow, what a
It would
shame.
otherwise occur. So when I think like what is the fundamental good of a company like Tesla, I would say hopefully it does. If it accelerated that by a decade, potentially more than a decade, that would be quite a good thing to occur. That's what I consider to be the fundamental sort of aspirational good of Tesla. Then
to speed it up. He's like the purpose of Tesla is to speed it up. The catalyst. Right? He's like, it's a catalyst, right? It's the rehash. Right? It's like his time to shine. He created the legacy. Now it's time to use it. Whoosh. Bring up that card. Let's do it. And it's a catalyst, right? To somehow shake the infrastructure that was manifested in the worship of some alternative that wasn't Tesla. So the grind way, the mash hood. So somehow there was Tesla technologies, or what Tesla represented long ago, generations past. Yet somehow today we boast in it and say, wow, we're the future. Even though now we have an infrastructure based on bash hood. What a shame. And now they're trying to, somehow map you from here to there, from here to the future, somehow using whatever he's devising, whatever he's cooking up. Because somehow the infrastructure that we have is just perfectly fine. Now we just have to upgrade it, go underground, and go bash into space. Because now we can use the technologies and the apparent, knowledge that was inspired through Tesla and this to provide free energy, self-sustainable cells and this. But instead of using it then, they chose some other system that just bashed and crashed and demolished and devoured. Well, and now in a state of being totally punch drunk, you're like, whoa, look at this guy Tesla. He's onto something. Let's do it again. Is that what's going on? Wow. He'll say, no, of course not. We're just so intelligent now, but yeah, we have corrupt system and this and that. We just need to just now change the system. So they're at all fronts, right? Everybody's boasting, we need change, relentless refurbishing now. Everybody's just boasting, just crying, begging to shed this skin, to just go and transform now. Everybody wants to transform. We want the new facelift now, and we're gonna go out and do it, smash it, finally. No, who knew man reneweth not a thing except his boast. It is a creator, his spirit that reneweth, not anything else. And who knew that giving yourself to that spirit fills a man with peace. Seeking refuge in truth, for that is the only protection against the savage swarm that seeks to kill, steal, and ultimately destroy, just annihilate. And so, I mean, people think that this is novel. No, it's just a rehash of nothing, just used against you, because they're all serving the purpose. So multiple fronts, and he's the front of innovation. Okay, he's the front of relentless dreaming, boasting, and how he's such a rebel. He's like, guys, I mean, come on. He's like, if you don't wish upon a star, you have nothing. He's like, guys, we have to have a common goal here, all right? And I'm leading the way.
Becoming a multi-planet species in spacefaring civilization, this is not inevitable. It's very important to appreciate this is not inevitable. The sustainable energy future, I think, is largely inevitable, but being a spacefaring civilization is definitely not inevitable. If you look at the
so
progress,
space innovation isn't inevitable. Is that what he's saying? He's like, If we just kept on not doing it, or me, if I wasn't here, we'd just keep boasting in the same bashhood on Earth, and eventually just extinct ourselves. Is that what he's saying? Wow. How very little he thinks of himself.
In space. In 1969, we were able to send somebody to the moon.
1969.
1969. Then we had the space shuttle. The space shuttle could only take people to low Earth orbit. Then the space shuttle retired, and the United States could take no one to orbit. So that's the trend. The trend is like down to nothing. This is not a mistake.
Exactly. He's like, who knew you needed a champion like me to take that, plummet down back up? Woohoo!
When they think that technology just automatically improves, it does not automatically improve. It only.
So it does not automatically improve. So the technology in 1969 was just so amazing that man went to the moon, and now we boast of how our technology is so much better than it, and yet people haven't gone back. Because you'd think that people going to the moon in 1969 till now, there'd all be hotels there, just be going to holidays there, right? If it was such a novel and just so amazing, and you're like, well, no, we got distracted, there was wars, and no, nothing. What could be more just spectacular than landing people on the moon? But apparently the trend was, we got there and we just couldn't go to the lower orbit anymore, and just, we'll just curve and just sink the shuttles in the ocean. Doesn't matter. It just looks like we went up there. It just doesn't matter. It's just fine.
It only improves if a lot of people work very hard to make it better. And actually, it will, I think, by itself degrade, actually. You look at great civilizations.
So it'll degrade, and then we'll just become half-bash apes again, right? And so he's like, we need relentless wishers upon stars.
Like ancient Egypt, and they're able to make
exactly. Oh, who knew he couldn't wait to drop the Egypt bomb?
The pyramids, and they forgot how to do that.
Right, so he's saying the Egyptians knew how to blast through Osiris and go back to the nebulas of nebulas, and we forgot.
The Romans, they built these incredible aqueducts. They forgot how to do it.
Whoa, who knew? Who knew that he's telling you? He's like, we will never come to build things that have already been done. And certainly going to the moon wasn't something that was done. It was cooked up and presented to you on a screen and sold to you as a stimulus, a stimulated experience. In film, who knew? And it was just theater host just bashed and refracted it to you through projection. All a mockery of the image that you're in, and told that it's yours. No, you're in the image of the Creator. Who knew?
It almost seems,
And again, he couldn't wait to tell you. He's like, guys, look, the Romans and the Egyptians, all the technology we have today is bash. He's saying we went to the moon, but somehow we can't go to the moon, and supposedly we boast in our technology today. So who knew that he probably was going, well, I'm going to bet fantasy on the space and then just go practical and build eco homes. So he's betting on both. He wants his cake and eat it too. All while mocking you and telling you, blasting you. He's like, guys, look, the aqueducts. He's like, look at that precision. Because look at all the aqueducts and all the canals that exist all over the world. And you believe that they were built by some bash slaves and this and this and this and this and that. Wow. What a shame. Right. So, because apparently every slave was a master mason. And this and that and this and this and that and that. And that's what they did. They were just the masons, right? The builders of it all. No, that's what you boast you are. You boast that you are the builder, The future we're building, right? Wow. The rogue builder.
Listening to you and look at the different things you've done, that you've got this unique double motivation on everything that I find so interesting. We, you know, which is one is this desire to work for
There's
humanity.
nothing to be built. Everything is already built for you. It's here. In the flesh that you see that dies, it's here. It's all here. So how do you endure life? It's not about surpassing or blasting through it or hoping it's, some other bashful lives. What are you doing? You're like the relentless bash that just got punch drunk, is also inebriated, and also is just in relentless contradiction with his ego and with his self-righteousness and with his just usurping ways and just his split hoods of method actor personalities and just everything under the sun that he could come to imagine, and just he's like catatonic, a beating heart cadaver, a beating heart just brain dead bash, right? Apparently, but he'll boast about how much electricity flows and bash and reconnects in his brain and calls it neural networking. Neural networking is just reintegration of drives, just separate in and out and in and out. I'm just here and nowhere and just bashing in multiple timelines. Blah, blah. Elon, take us to the future.
Humanity's long-term good. The other is this desire to do something exciting, and it's often. It feels like you feel like you need the one to drive the other. With Tesla, you want to have sustainable energy, so you make these super sexy, exciting cars to do it. Solar energy, we need to get there, so we need to make these beautiful roofs. We haven't even spoken about your newest thing, which we don't have time to do, but you want to save humanity from bad AI, and so you're going to create this really cool brain-machine interface to give us all...
So he's building the McAfee, the relentless, spyware, this of the AI. You're gonna build the Trojan horse. What is he saying? Just counterfeits of counterfeits. Relentless counterfeits. Right? Trying to recreate something that already is. All while you boast and denying it and saying, no, we don't know how anything works, so we just can get as close as we can, but it's not going to be perfect. Nothing is perfect as everything is. We can't be perfect as perfect as everything is. What is this bash saying? He's like, what do you mean think everything is perfect? I'm diseased and everything's just suffering. Why do you call that perfect? I suffer every day. Who knew that it was because of your own hand in the bash worship that is truly the ways of the world, that has everyone is nations have been deceived, and we're the generations that are just afloat, just in the relentless wave pool, just swimming in our own piss, and you're in just filth, thinking that this is, whoa, let's cut that wave, it's coming, guys, let's just ride it. Amazing.
Infinite memory and telepathy and so forth. And on Mars, it feels like...
he's getting into telepathy and all this bosh. Who knew? Mediums, the speed of thought. Why doesn't this Musk say, guys, soon we're going to be able to transport you at the speed of thought, at the multiple of the just quantum, cell reatomizer, and just disappear, disintegrator, and just reappear, and this, and you'll be Doctor Who.
What you're saying is, yeah, we need to save humanity and have a backup plan, but also we need to inspire humanity, and this is a way to inspire.
I think
wow, look at all these delayed responses. Just smashed.
The value of beauty and inspiration is very much underrated, no question.
Exactly, beauty and admiration, or aspiration. Going for that which appears pleasing, soothing in the flesh. Some bash thing that will just get you to go in the grind again and again. Just go in the grinder.
To be clear, I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. That is not the I'm just
He's like, I want to inspire you and show you that, look, I'm doing it so you can too.
trying to think about the future and not be sad.
He's like, I just try and look at the future and not feel sad. Oh, the relentless empath. Oh, and everybody, this guy's like, you nailed it, Musk. You will get praised tonight at the altar.
Beautiful statement. I think everyone here would agree that it is not, none of this is going to happen inevitably. The fact that in your mind you dream this stuff.
So he's like, you must agree it won't happen inevitably, even though that Musk said, oh, this is inevitable, but space innovation isn't inevitable, right? So free energy is inevitable, but space innovation isn't. So this guy
You dream stuff that no one else would dare dream, or no one else would be capable of dreaming at the level of complexity.
Because Elon Musk is just so complex and just could just cook up whatever. No.
Yeah.
That you do. The fact that you do that, Elon Musk, is a really
He
remarkable
was the champion picked to mask this personality.
thing. Thank you for helping us all to dream a bit
Yeah.
bigger.
You'll tell me if it ever starts getting genuinely insane, right?
Oh, he's like, tell me, yeah, you're gonna tell me, right? Once if I get too kooky, telling you that he already is kooky, but not kooky in the sense. No, he's murmuring you. He's mind mashing you.
Thank you. That was
And of
really.
course, he's a giant. He's the friendly giant. Unless this guy's 3 feet tall and he's not that big. So what's going on? It's just, wow, so amazing. Based on what? He's like, thanks for helping us dream, Musk. Synesthesia. I smell your musk, but somehow I see I see your smell. Ah. Right? Defiled. Smoked. You've been smoked out and trapped, and now you're being cooked over the fire. And as you're being basted, you're like, yeah, I'm getting cold and crispy, and then we're gonna rise from the ashes. Amazing. So blast through blast in a rocket, go to war. Forget the moon; it already happened, and space innovation, inspiration has gone plummeted down. So now this is a champion that's both blasting you underground and above ground, as above so below, and therefore just wordsmithing and alchemizing you, relentlessly making you feel that you're the synthesis. See, exactly, he couldn't wait. He said, guys, you dream big, and therefore you synthesize it in the flesh. All pleasers of the flesh and self-gratification. He's like, I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel sad, so then I'll just shapeshift and smash and promise whatever it is just so I feel I'm doing something and therefore I'm not sad anymore. Apparently, no, I'm fulfilled. Relentless hobbies, relentless things, 2% there, 98% there, but somehow just, I don't want to be anybody's savior, but I'm sure going to just smash you with all my products and tell you, wow, look, we're going to be a diamond pointing north. Diamond pointing north. No. The way is the Father. The truth is his refuge. The life, his true promise. Who knew? Return to the Father. Yes, amen.